It's absolutely my pleasure to introduce Damian. Damian, as I was just telling Magda a little while ago, his mother is an MCC, his father is a PCC, his brother is a PCC. He's been an MCC for a while. Now he is he's one of the pioneers in propagating supervision in the United States, which has been pretty much a European kind of phenomenon. I'm learning supervision from him, and it's absolutely my pleasure today to bring Damian to this forum to be able to talk about supervision, which I believe is absolutely essential to anyone who really wants to master the competencies in coaching. Damian, all to you. I'm sorry, as and when my video comes back, I'll probably participate better in this program. Thank you.
Great, Ram. Well, first of all, happy Coaches Week. We're getting to the end of the week, and it's an honor to be here with you and with everybody who are joining us. Looking at the chat room, Ram, and it's pretty impressive that we have people from India, but also from all over the world. I'm looking here, people from Africa, from South Africa, from Europe, from London, from Canada. It's great to see people from all over the world. So welcome to the session today. And I want to share the reason why I am talking about supervision today and why supervision became a passion for me was because when I was in the global board of directors and we were having conversations about what we wanted to have the role of supervision at the global level, I wanted to do some research. So I went through the first coaching supervision certification that was presented in the United States. So Ram, I don't know if you want to turn off your camera or you want to leave it on now?
No, I don't know. I'm completely frozen. I can't see myself. So I'm going to I'm going to close my computer and restart it again. You please continue.
Okay. And just for you to know, if you not see yourself, that we are also in you, just in case that you didn't know that. So in terms of the supervision, I went through that training and I fell in love with supervision because that gave me the opportunity to keep learning, to keep applying everything that I knew about coaching for so many years. And also, I realized the importance of coaching supervision and the lack of awareness of what the importance is of coaching supervision at that time in North America. And I think I have been working not only in the United States, but in North America and in Latin America too. And I do believe that coaching supervision is important because coaching supervision is an opportunity to reflect on our work. We don't know what we don't know. This is what we work with our clients as coaches. And if we don't look at our practice, if we don't look at possible blind spots, if we don't pay attention and explore how our emotions may be in our way when we're working with our clients, we may not be as effective as we could be. We can keep making some maybe mistakes, or we may lose efficiency because we are not realizing that we are doing things that we are not aware of. So coaching supervision gives us that space. What I'm going to do is for 10-15 minutes, I'm going to show you some slides with some ideas about coaching supervision. And then after that, I will open, we're going to do a brief demo with Ram. And then after that, we're going to open to questions and answers. So basically the idea with coaching supervision is that coaching is one of the trends of the future. Coaching is one of the things that if you're not aware, if you're not familiar, I highly recommend that you pay attention to it and start learning about it. And I do believe that coaching supervision is also a responsibility for us as coaches to be sure that we have that space. But what is it? What is coaching supervision? So here in the session today, my idea is to define coaching supervision. I want to differentiate it from mentor coaching, present Peter Hawkins, who is going to be coming to the session after me. Don't miss his presentation on team coaching that is coming after this session. And I will answer your question. As Ram was saying before, coaching supervision is much well known in the UK, in Australia, and in the European Mentor and Coaching Council, they see coaching supervision as an ethical responsibility, and it's mandatory for every coach who wants to renew the credential with EMCC or AC, different that for the International Coach Federation, ICF doesn't see it as mandatory, but highly recommended, and also provides units of education to renew credentials. So this is the definition from ICF, and you can find this in ICF website. It's the interaction that occurs when a coach brings his work or experiences to a supervisor in order to engage in reflective dialogue and collaborative learning for the development and benefit of the coach and his or her clients. And I would say not only his or her client, but all stakeholders. By offering and receiving coaching supervision, there are many stakeholders who benefit from this process. Not only the coach who is receiving the supervision and his or her clients, but also the organizations and the systems that they are part of. So Proctor said that supervision has three functions: formative, normative, and supportive or restorative. Formative is about keep learning, developing as coach. It's about getting new tools in our toolkit. It's about coming to a supervisor and discuss what we have been doing and what other models, other theories, other interventions we can do to be even more effective. So many times when people think about supervision, they see it like they understand supervision and working with a boss to tell us what to do. So here in coaching, we don't believe that this is supervision. Supervision is not telling somebody what to do. Supervision is about creating a reflective space where the coach can learn from thinking and reflecting together with the supervisor who are colleagues and who together look at different ways to do the work that the coach is doing. There is a normative responsibility that this is about paying attention to what are the code of ethics and how maybe they can be ethical dilemmas, or sometimes the coach may not be aware how some of the challenges that he or she is facing has some ethical implications. So the supervisor can help to create a space for reflection about them. And finally, a supportive, restorative space where the coach can find a space to recharge energy, to explore their reaction to the work, to explore their emotion, what's happening to them working with their clients. Now, the International Coach Federation differentiates supervision from mentor coaching. They are not the same. Mentor coaching is about development, the developmental part of coach, focus on coaching skills. So more than reflective practice is an opportunity to receive feedback on our skills so we can enhance and develop new skills, start doing things we may not be doing, stop doing things that are not effective, particularly around competencies and around different levels according to ACC, PCC, or MCC, that are the three ICF credentials. So the expectations are different. So when somebody receives mentor coaching, the mentor coach will listen to the coach coaching and will provide a specific feedback of what he or she heard. In supervision, the supervisor does not need necessarily to listen to a recording. In supervision, there is a conversation where the coach brings a situation, a challenge, a case, and they explore that with the supervisor. And Ram and I were going to be doing that in a few minutes. Before doing that, I want to just share with you a couple of more slides. The idea is, in coaching supervision is broader than mentor coaching. Now, there is a space that can be an intersection. So let's say that somebody who is in mentor coaching and receiving feedback about their coaching skills, but is mandatory for ICF. Mentor coaching is a mandatory activity to receive training, to get the PCC, or to apply for an MCC, or to renew an ACC. These are all places where people need mentor coaching as mandatory to apply or renew credentials. But there is a possibility in mentor coaching that the coach wants to spend some time talking about what's happening to them with a client, and that will be an overlap with supervision. And in supervision, maybe a possibility that once the coach also brings a recording to the supervisor and says, okay, I would like you to listen to me coaching, and I would like you to give me feedback. But that's not the main task of supervision. So I have a question for everybody who is here for a minute. If you have never heard about supervision or you're not familiar with supervision, what do you think are the right topics or challenges that you can bring to supervision? And I want everybody to interact. I want to invite everybody to go to the chat room and write down what are the issues, topics, concerns, challenges that you may bring to supervision. And I'm going to be reading them. So I want to ask everybody to participate and to share what do you think that would you bring to supervision to discuss? Okay, so here we have ethical dilemmas, Is a confidential, yes. The session, the supervision is a confidential process. And sometimes confidentiality can be a challenge when people work in companies and organizations, and the coach may be asked to share information with human resources or other stakeholders, and that can be an ethical dilemma that needs to be brought to supervision. What happens when the coach is not interested or committed? One that I hear a lot is what happens when the coach doesn't share that they're going to be doing things and they don't do what they said they're going to be doing. What maturity and consciousness development, yes. Help the coach understand his style and the opposite side of his natural style, like polarity. Talk when there are difficulties faced by the client, how our emotions impact my engagement, definitely. Supervision is a space where we can talk about our reactions. And we are human beings, we do have reactions. We want to believe that we shouldn't have reactions, but that's not true. We react to our clients' challenges, and supervision is that space where we can explore them and see how we can discuss them with somebody so they are not in our way when we work with our clients. When something is popping up and we feel confused, and maybe we're picking up what is in the system, that's a great point from a systemic perspective. In supervision also, I'm going to talk briefly, we look at the systems, and in the here and now, many times what's happening between the supervisor and the coach is similar to what happened with the coach and the client. So we look at how that happened in the supervision session. What happened with the coach is not showing improvement. And what we say, the coach is stuck. There is not progress, what we may not be seeing. The effectiveness of the coaching or coach's expertise, feeling stuck, going around in circles, feeling useless. Thank you for that, Fiona. Inability to fully empathize with the client, our judgments and assumptions, issues in listening, conflicting values between the coach and the coach. That's a very interesting one. Sometimes people cannot take a client when these values are very different. And how do we deal with them? And sometimes also how we terminate some clients, how do we finish our relationships? When the alliance is not strong or we cannot build a relationship effectively with the client, managing my triggers during coaching. That's true. In case when a coach is unable to dissociate, areas where my coach be stuck, confidentiality when clients and sponsors expect me to share the client progress with them, even though we have told them we will not do, they may still ask us, and how do we deal with that? Just checking up doubts, if we have doubts. Coaching can clarify her goal, helping the clients to clarify their goals. When they stop coaching, is coaching not interested, not showing improvement? That's a good one. When is the right time to finish a relationship? Help the coach with challenging situations. Okay, these are great. Thank you very much, everybody, for sharing your questions. We need to move on now. Somebody was asking other differences between coaching, supervision, and mentor coaching. And here I want to clarify another example, so we'll give a few more examples. Like potential aspects covered in coaching supervision, I see feedback on the coach's actions, approaches, behaviors based on what they have done. Not necessarily what the supervisor listening to a session, but maybe the coach asks, okay, this is what I have done. What do you think? Do you think that it's working? Do you think that it's not? And validation, many times we look validation in supervision. Do you think that that's right or not? Other ways to do things. Ensure that the coach is not alone, challenging the difficulties, have a space to offer and express these feelings and emotional reactions, check the decisions and choices we have done in our work. They're all good reasons to bring to work with the supervisor. Providing support for the coach work, regular opportunities to reflect on the work, develop new skills and strategies, get insight and understanding of why things turn out the way they turn out, and manage self in our coach role. What happens when we feel that this is too big for us, that we don't feel that we have the strategies or the right answers to work with our clients? So at this point, I wonder if you have any questions before we jump with Ram to do like a brief session. The idea is that somebody was asking more about coaching and the difference between coaching supervision and mentor coaching. So I wanted to repeat that. The idea in coaching supervision is we create a reflective space, and we're going to do a demo now. Now we run to show that. And in mentor coaching, we provide feedback on coaching skills, specific skills. So we listen to recording and we compare wherever the person is to the next level. And according to that, they receive feedback. For Ram or for me, we are master certified coaches, and we still benefit from somebody listening to us and give us feedback, because there is always something to keep learning and growing and developing. And that's different than when we discuss having conversation that we're going to have now about a concern or a client. So Ram, are you ready to start our conversation?
Yes, Damian.
Okay, great. So Ram.
As long as my Mac cooperates and my internet cooperates, I'm here with you. Yeah.
It sounds good. So Ram, we had 20 minutes today, so we have 20 minutes at the end for discussion.
Right.
What would you like to bring to Supervision today?
Yeah, you had asked me, and I was thinking about it. I would like to talk about one of the cases where I think I failed. Okay. I failed as a coach, and perhaps I failed perhaps as a human being. I'm not quite sure, but that's something I'm quite happy to discuss today with you.
Okay, so let's. Where would we like to start?
Well, let me start with. I mean, I know that we are not going to follow the 7I model perfectly, but. Pretty much in terms of the client, it was some years ago, about 4 years ago, but it's still, I have recollections of what happened, and therefore it does, from time to time, it comes up for me. This was a mid-level executive in a very large Indian subsidiary of a multinational, world-famous multinational. And I was establishing myself a reputation for dealing with executives who were aggressive, abrasive, and stuff like that. So behavioral kind of issues. And that is how this person was referred to me, and the HR department contacted me, started working with them. The agreement was very straightforward, that I was given all his previous 360 feedback, some psychometrics, which didn't show much. The 360s did show that that he had problems. Colleagues felt that he was being too critical and he was not being very supportive, and so on. And in terms of the psychometrics and so on, this person had issues. I mean, he wasn't quite willing to accept what was there out there in the material. So I worked with him. It basically moving into what is it that is bothering him. Some of the family issues came up, how his father was domineering, and there was some effects, and so on. So the net is at the end of it. At the end of about, I think we had totally contracted for about 10 sessions that time. We had done about 5 sessions, and there seemed to be significant improvement, because I did have 2 stakeholder meetings with his boss. He clearly felt that things were improving. This person was working as a manager for about 400 to 500 people. They were working in different groups in different locations. I had wanted to work with him, shadow him actually, but then I was told that is not possible because of the confidentiality conditions within his company. And so at the end of 5, I think based on his feedback, based on the feedback from the stakeholders and everything, was good. And I think it was about the 6th session. Usually he came to my place, and this time, because there was a meeting with his line manager, tripartite meeting, I went over to his office. And this guy, my client, hadn't come, and so I went into his boss's office and I sat down there. And he basically said that something really pretty bad happened. And there was a client visit, a client who was a very important client for them, an external client. And my client, the guy executive that I was coaching, was on the shop floor, as it were, on the work floor. And the the client walked in unannounced, and this guy was actually tearing people to bits. And this particular sponsor, the external client, had very strict qualities of ethics in terms of people engagement and all that. So it was quite a mess. At the end of it, the customer, let me switch the words, the external customer who was giving them jobs, this company the job, and my client was working for them indirectly, essentially said that he doesn't want this guy anymore. He cannot deal with this. He doesn't have the people qualities to be able to do it. So this news was spoken in front of me by the boss to this person, and so there was absolute silence. What I did was I took the boss's permission, and I said, why don't we go and have some coffee? We went to the cafeteria, sat outside, spent about an hour with him, and asked him what happened. He said, he pretty much denied everything. He said, no, that's not what happened. That person was always against me and so on. Impressions were different. So I said, in any event, since perceptions are important, would you like to, I would like to work with you for as long as you require. It doesn't matter whether 3 more sessions or 4 more sessions. I'd like to work with you. There was no further progress. He didn't come back. I talked to his line manager a couple of times. He said, look, I talked to him, you've talked to him, he doesn't seem to be interested. So I don't even really know how it ended. Whether, like Marshall Goldsmith starts a story in Triggers, I remember, where the guy got thrown out and he had a repetitive failure problem. I'm not quite sure this happened with this client or not. But I felt at the end of it, yes, I failed. And in some ways, perhaps I had let down my client. So yeah, that's the totality of the story.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question. When you talk about I fail, and you said that a couple of times, what is there?
Yeah, well, from an ICF terminology point of view, no. Because it sort of disengages a coach from anything that may happen, that you are not responsible for the success or the failure, you just do a job or whatever it is. But in reality...
Okay. Let me stop here, because you're going fast, and that's an important idea.
That is what, sorry?
What you said, it's an important, I think what you're saying, like many times we as coaches believe that they are responsible for what happened to our clients. Are we?
Yeah. The point is, irrespective of whatever I can think about disengaging myself, I did my best, whatever that can be done. And my job is to create the environment for the client to get awareness, etc., which happened. This was probably one of 2 cases where, at least this I feel I failed, the other one I didn't fail, but the engagement stopped. Out of several hundred cases, these were the only 2 that I find that where we didn't go the full course. But in this particular case, given what happened, I put a number of reasons why I'm using that word specifically, because this guy was, it looked as if that he was doing well. He had understood, he had awareness, and he was correcting himself. He was doing many things right. And then the stakeholder meeting said that. And suddenly, out of the blue, this happened. And then when I tried to genuinely reach out to him and said, look, I'll forget about any fee, nothing at all. I'll work with you for what it takes. It's my responsibility because I have made a commitment to you. This is what I would like to do. To be honest, that's what comes up for me at the end of it again. Probably, I can be sort of more elegant, say that I was not successful, but I would rather be direct and say I failed.
But I want to invite you, my challenge with a question without asking you about failure, because we can use different terminology. But maybe the question here is, to what extent we as coaches are really responsible for the progress of our client? It's our responsibility. Like there is a part of us that we know is not, but there is a part of us that we may assume some responsibilities that maybe don't belong to us. So we're going from that angle. What do you think about this?
Yeah. Cognitively, I understand that, Damian. Of course I do. And that is what we all teach, right?
That's different what we did and what we do many times. And that's the reason why we all need a supervisor. That's the reason why I have been teaching supervision and you're in my class, but at the same time I have two supervisors that I work with.
Yeah. So, I mean, Fiona is out here, and if I were to talk to Fiona, she would probably, come up with something which, in a way, suits that. But the point at the end of it is really, to me, irrespective of knowing, yes, I have limits, and I'm only a catalyst, I'm only the mirror, I'm doing that. There's an agreement. The agreement was that I would, the sponsor wanted, he was paying me fees for, the company was paying me fees for helping this person become less aggressive, less abrasive, less whatever, being more collaborative and so on. And so in fact, I went back to the company and said, I would like to return the amount of money that you have paid me. They paid me for part of it, not for all of it. They said, no, there's not something that we can hold you responsible for. But to be honest, I didn't do any further work with the company for various reasons. The company itself got into various kinds of problems. But yes, knowing all that, knowing that we are not 100% responsible, I still cannot get rid of the feeling that could there, let me put it another way. Could there have been something that I could have done which would have helped this person? Maybe that's an alternative way of posing that question. That's what I'm struggling with, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a question. That's a great supervision question, because there is many times opportunity for us to be even more effective. So we like to spend a few minutes looking into that. What else could have been done?
Yeah, one thing I regret not having done was to somehow have pressurized them into having some kind of shadow meetings and working with him as a team, which more and more I'm telling companies, and I'm even turning down assignments where I tell them that working with the person alone is not going to help. There's a lot that happens, a lot that doesn't happen. So I need to work with a team. So soon after this, I had another experience working with a person who had actually, a native Indian who had worked in the US. She had come back and she was running a team here, and there was a bit of a problem. And there, I insisted that I meet with the team along with her. And that made a huge difference, really huge difference. So that is something that I could have done. In this particular case, the organization didn't want it.
And by the way, I want to hear for a sec, because what you're sharing, I think it's important, because there is, you wanted to do something, and the client didn't agree with you and didn't want to go there, and you could see the difference with somebody who did agree with you and work with you there. So like when you were sharing your case, I was thinking about some of my cases too, where many times the client, because of the company pressure or expectations, show some progress during coaching, but whatever they're doing is not really ingrained. It's just they're doing something that may be a little bit superficial just to keep everybody happy, the coach, us, and the organization. But it may not be a really commitment since the beginning to look at what are their clients' abilities or capacities to really look at themselves and really own how they show up with their clients. In this case, this person didn't have relationship skills. So what do you think about that? Because there is one piece, what I'm hearing is one piece is related to you have been doing something a little different next time. It's like if you have your intuition that this is what is going to work, so whatever you need to do what you think is going to work with your client. That's one thing that you learn from this, what you're saying. And the other thing that I am listening and I'm wondering, and I'm asking you, what do you think about the possibility that is from the beginning, this specific client was in a place where he didn't have that awareness. And even though it sounds like he had some awareness, you had stakeholder meeting with the boss and it sounded like it was progress, maybe that was cosmetic, was not really deep. What do you think about this?
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. The only thing I can say is that guy must have been a fantastic actor. He was in a wrong profession. Okay, he could have been in the theater and he could have fooled anybody, because every single thing that he said, even though first he was a little bit reluctant to admit to some of the 360-degree feedbacks, etc. People have this kind of probably some other agenda. As we went through various kind of reflections, creating awareness, what is happening, why is this happening, is there an insecurity issue, whatever it is, limiting beliefs and all that kind of stuff, he was pretty open, he was very forthcoming, and he was sharing in terms of information. And my intuition told me very clearly that he was progressing. And he confirmed it each time he said, and we agreed, specific things, this is what you will do. You will not criticize anybody, and then you will ask people for feedback and so on and so forth. Yeah, I'm doing that, etc. The only thing that didn't happen was my ability to go and see it for myself. But even that could have been staged, even if I did, perhaps. At least I had 2 meetings within those 6 sessions with the boss, and the boss seemed very happy. And he really said, yeah, things seem to be working out very well. And he was a pretty senior guy. He was a seasoned guy. Okay? He was a senior vice president of the company. So at the end of it, was I misled? Was he misleading me deliberately? Was it something else that was happening within him that I wasn't able to uncover? I really, I don't know. I have no answer. But this is how it ended. Yeah.
Okay, let's say we will never know these things, don't we? But I was wondering, this is what we're talking about intuition. You know, we're talking about what is coming up here is working with our intuition, and I don't know whether that was my intuition. And sometimes our intuition is right, and sometimes it's not. But this is, I don't know why this came up for me in some way, that maybe that's a possibility that you we're not considering.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that in fact was what occurred several times to me after that. So I became a little bit more wary when I was working with these people, and somebody has asked a question, and I have discussed this with Marshall. Are some people coachable? Some people are not coachable. I don't believe that. I mean, if someone is not coachable, it's my fault. It's not the client's fault. And the client may always find another coach who's better at doing that, dealing with him. So I can cover up my inability by saying, oh, that person is not coachable, that person is not doing this or that, whatever, fine. So that's one of the reasons why I believe that, yeah, maybe I wasn't successful. Could I have done it differently? So what I do differently now over a period of time is, yeah, either insist, and coming back to your other point, there was nothing in the agreement where I had really agreed with the company, because at that time I didn't know, honestly, that this was going to be an issue, that they should allow me to have team sessions or shadowing sessions and so on and so forth. So now I'm much more particular that this is very important, especially in kind of behavioral changes with does work with teams and so on. Yeah, so to some extent, perhaps because of that, it has not repeated. Perhaps maybe I'm a little better of a coach than what I was at that point in time. I have no idea. Or maybe I'm just plain lucky that I'm getting clients who like to change.
I believe that. So Ram, like going back to this situation, what else could be there that you were not seeing at that time? What else? So you shared so far that what you may have not been seeing at the time was in terms of the agreement, being sure that you have this in place, being sure that you got involved in the system, looking at the different stakeholders. Anything else that you may not have considered working with this client?
Yeah. The only thing that comes up for me, Damian, when you ask me this question is, because at that time, as I said, I had developed some kind of a reputation for being able to work with people who were aggressive, abrasive, and I think there was a bit of a grapevine, and people came to me. Perhaps I was getting a little bit too big for my boots, or I was getting arrogant. So maybe there's a tested, tried out kind of a system. So I do some cookie cutter kind of work, and I don't know. I don't think I really did it. but at the back of my mind, there could have been a subconscious kind of feeling that this was happening. And did I do as much as I should have to gone into details? As you said, perhaps being more intuitive about what was going on. Was it going on too smoothly, for example? I mean, typically in any of these coaching situations, it's always, we all know, I'm much more careful about that now. There's always an up and down. It's never always a graph that moves upwards. In this particular person's case, it was always a graph that was moving upwards. I'm doing better, I'm doing all right, and so on and so forth. So should I be more careful about it? Is that something that I didn't notice? Yeah, these are some of the thoughts.
Okay, we need to start wrapping up. And I want to, like, part of supervision is a little bit didactic. Sometimes there are a couple of teaching points or a couple of comments that we do more in supervision than we do in coaching. But when you talk about Goldsmith and what he said that everybody's coachable, I agree with that. And I also agree that people are at a different level of readiness for coaching, even though everybody can be coachable in terms of how open and willing they are to explore and look at themselves in the mirror in terms of how ready they are. People are at a different level of readiness. So I want to just bring this up because in terms of that question, is everybody coachable? And there are different perspectives about that. And in terms of readiness, how ready people are and what we require from us with people at different level of readiness, they require a different level of coaching. And I'm sure that you, with so much experience, so many years, Ram, you're very effective in going at these different levels. And when you have many clients, it's like a curve. We cannot be 100% effective with all clients in all situations because there are many variables that we may not be under our control. So who knows, maybe this client has been able to achieve everything that he said he was achieving, and it was a relapse. Like, even though it's like somebody who is stressed out and learn to relax, is able to manage things, then at one point lose that and is again stressed. So I think that's another possibility. So maybe this guy, yes, got a lot of value and grow, and then it was a specific situation where he was not able to bring the learning to the situation and had a really bad response to that. So there are different possibilities, but what do you think about?
Yeah, and actually, yeah, part of what you said, and I just saw on the chat box, there was a comment from Michael. Did Ram have an internal checklist at that point in time? And I thought that was pretty relevant. I was a PCC coach at that time, and my movement was from a corporate leader. My whole thing was about solutioning. But of course, as a coach, I was trying to move out of it. And part of my success also was because of the fact that there was a certain amount of solutioning that was involved in what coaching I was doing. So that perhaps there was an internal checklist. I really cannot recall. But today it's completely different. And thanks to, I mean, like we both worked together and later I worked quite a while with Cindy, my MCC path. And today, in many ways, there is absolutely no checklist, period. There isn't a checklist. It is just what happens here and now at this point in time with a client. Mm-hmm. And if the client has a checklist, okay, that's a client's checklist. So I don't even sort of put down anything. I tell the client, okay, you come back and ask me. So that's, I think, made a huge difference. However, having said that, if at the end of the day, if I made a commitment to a client, saying that I would help you in reaching this, and if the client did not, then I think I would still feel the same sense of failure. Despite the fact, yes, I understand that it's not just my effort, it has to be the unconditional positive regard for the client and so on and so forth. I fully subscribe to it. But if at the end of the period, if I'm working with that client and the client does not reach the potential that client is striving for, I would feel that I have let the client down. There's no question about it. I don't have an answer to it. It's an existential question. But yeah, in some ways it answers a question. And again, coming back to that coachability, Yeah, I understand the logic for it. Maybe it is much better to be safe rather than be sorry. Say at this point in time, you don't really sort of commit to whatever you have committed to, you are not doing, and therefore I do not want to really work with you anymore. 3 strikes and you're out, kind of a stuff. Yes, you can do that. But for me, that is going to be impossible. I won't be able to do that. Because I tell clients that when I take you on, I take you on for life. Even if the payment is for 12 sessions, there are people who come back after 5 years and say, hey, and just call me up and talk to me. And that's okay. And that is what I'm there for. That's my feeling. Yeah. So there you are.
We need to start wrapping up today. And coaching is always a supervision. Coaching, like coaching, supervision, both are processes that sometimes take more than 20 minutes to resolve. So this is in supervision an ongoing conversation of our reflection on our work. So today, unfortunately, we need to stop here. There is much more to keep exploring and discussing. But for today, Ram, from our 20-minute conversation, is anything that you're thinking that you would like to share before we finish?
Yeah, first of all, this reflection that came up as part of the chat, and some of the things that you said also was that, yeah, I probably that getting that person better was the coach's agenda, and that's the point that you were making. Was it the client's agenda? Maybe the client got whatever the client wanted out of it. My agenda was that the client should become curly bear, whatever it is, kind of a stuff, and then he would be, everybody lived happily ever after. I don't have a right to that. I agree with that. So that's one of the learnings, and perhaps that is something that I am careful about it. I should be more careful about it. I think that's the most important learning, and certainly it felt good. Everybody talks about their successes. I would much rather talk about my failures, because that is what I would learn from. Yeah.
I appreciate that, Ram, very much, because this is what we do in supervision. We want to do both. In supervision, we want to talk our successes because we want to learn from our successes. We want to learn from what is working well. But we also want to learn from what is not working so well. And what we are doing here today, like we did a demonstration of looking at what can be different things that can be in our way to working with our clients. So I really appreciate you being vulnerable and opening up. So that's, I think, a great learning for everybody who are listening to us today. And of course, this requires more work and more exploration, but I think it's a good beginning to start. Let's say, like, moving in a coaching supervision process will be a good way to start exploring how you, as a coach, conceptualize failure and success, and who is responsible. So, like, now we need to stop, but then I will keep exploring in the same way that you may feel responsible when the client is not successful, when the clients are successful and they accomplish things. It's really the success of the coach too. To what extent the coach also should take credit for the result of the client. So that's another conversation for another day, the other side of the same coin. But I have here very interesting comments from our colleagues who are listening here today. So we can take some of these comments. We want to invite people to participate and share comments, reactions, questions. And since Ram is also part of this coaching supervision training, he can also answer some of these questions. And okay, so Marian say here, great conversation. I'm hearing perfectionism. Also to say everyone is coachable seems a bit arrogant. Narcissists are an example. Well, that's the reason why, Marian, I said before that I am not sure either if everybody's coachable. I am not sure if I agree with that either. But I do believe that people are different levels of coachability, ability to get engaged, and that can change. Maybe somebody who at the beginning of the process is very closed and resistant and not willing to be vulnerable, not open to feedback, then slowly by slowly they start opening up. And then as a result of coaching, they became like more effective, more willing to receive feedback, and they develop new awareness and new skills as a result of coaching. So that's definitely a possibility. Somebody was talking about, and let's say I was reading, trying to be multitasking here, but somebody talk about in a hospital system, we do not blame the surgeon when a patient dies, but we do examine the circumstances and there is a review for the learning purposes. In coaching supervision, it's much the same. We don't blame the coach when a client fails, but we do conduct a learning review. That's what I take from this. Yes, Dan, I agree with you completely. I agree with you. This is how we want to do. Want to learn, like Ram is doing here, what we may not be seeing. So this is also the question that I bring to my own supervision, is what I may not be seeing in this situation that allows me not to be as successful as I would like to be, or is anything that I didn't realize that was in the system that I didn't catch, and as a result of that, I lost effectiveness. And I do believe, Ram, here in your example here, the issue of agreement, and having a more robust agreement at the beginning of the process, working with the company and saying, okay, I'm going to be doing this shadowing, and that's part of the way that I work, and if they don't want to take me with that, I will not do the work, so we can choose about that. That can be one possible learning from this process. The other thing that maybe we want to look at is in that last conversation that you have, Ram, we don't want to keep the supervision here, but this is something that was in my head too, is what happened in our last conversation when a client doesn't want to work with us anymore. So what happened in that conversation? And maybe there is a possibility that in that conversation, the client didn't feel supported by the coach. That's a possibility. Something didn't work right, and the client felt judged by the coach, even though that was not the intention. And as a result of that, the coach disengaged. Or sometimes what happens, Ram, in some organizations is that there is a triangle, and in this triangle between the client, the coach, and the organization. When we're talking about the organization, we're talking about human resources, upper management, the people who hire us to work, the boss of the clients. There are different combinations of this triangulation. Sometimes they can be in harmony, but sometimes you can have the client colluding with the coach against the organization, where the client is a victim of the organization and the coach is in some way supporting the client in that place. Or there is a possibility that the coach is colluding with the organization against the client, where they are both in some way trying to change the client or fix the client or do something to the client. And there is the time when the client colludes with the organization against the coach. So now the coach is the victim, and they say, well, they blame the coach for not being able to do work that they were not allowing maybe the coach to do. So there are many different dynamics that are possible working in companies and organizations that sometimes are interesting to explore in supervision. So somebody said, Damian, you comment on how you feel about this supervision session. Effective, etc. I think that here we have a 20-minute opportunity to explore whatever was Ram bringing. So difference between coaching supervision and coaching is that in coaching supervision, there is not one goal specific that the client needs to accomplish in the session. Coaching supervision is a reflective space. And from that reflective space, I think that, Ram, would you agree that you did some reflection here in this session?
Yeah, absolutely. Damian, that is one. And I also, what I found extremely useful, as I was quickly going through the chat box as well, there were many, and I completely agree with many of those things that they said. But however, there's one comment about arrogance and being narcissistic, about being that everybody is coachable. Probably I look at it another way, when if I'm not able to handle somebody, and therefore I term that person as uncoachable, that shows my arrogance, that I'm not accepting the fact that somebody else can be successful with that person. So I don't know, it's a different point of view. I'm not disputing what the other person is saying. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's at the end of the day, it's about the reflections, and it's also about what came up for me very strongly was that we keep talking about the eyes, the 4, 5, 6. Actually, you should stay over. The father of the 7-eye model, he's going to be there for the next session, the last concluding session today. And so it's about the relationships. It's about what my relationship with the client is, what my relationship with you, and what you see as a parallel process that is happening. And I think that happened to some extent. And that's really what I think would be the success of a good supervision conversation would be. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Ram. Like, we didn't have here enough time to go through the model. We believe that the 7I model from Peter Hawkins, the professor, coach, consultant, writer, expert who's coming after me, developed over the years that is used in coaching, basically shows that there are 7 places to look at in supervision. That's called the 7 I's, because there are 7 places where we pay attention to. And one in 3 different systems: the system client coach, the system coach supervisor, and the overall system. In these 3 different systems, there are different relationships that we look at. And it's a systemic perspective where the I number 1 is who is the client, and number 2 is what the coach has done with the client interventions, and number 3 is the relationship between the coach and the client. The I number 4 is who is the coach and what's happening to the coach working with the client. And number 5 is the relationship, what's happening the here and now between the coach and the supervisor. Number 6 is what happened to the supervisor. And number 7 is the overall system, what's happening in the overall systems that we're working on. So here, in this case, when I was bringing out my intuition, or really what was happening to me working with you, that this is where, in some way, I was thinking, experiencing, bringing ourselves as instruments so the coach can benefit from our own reactions and to what the client and the coach is bringing to supervision. Then we have 4 or 5 minutes to finish, and there are here a few questions. Somebody said something about that supervision looks like coaching the coach. And I would say, yes, there is a part of in supervision coaching the coach, but there is something else. That is a strong emphasis in, first, there is always a case, or it's always related to work. So the context is different. Like in coaching, we have a goal that we want to accomplish. In supervision, it's always around our work. And the context is different because we are looking at the different stakeholders who are benefiting from this are bigger than just in a coaching session. So that will be one. And the second is that in supervision, we look at the different systems in place. Sometimes coaches, they also do that in their own coaching. I remember, Ram, when you started the coaching supervision program, you said, well, as a coach, I do some of this too. And I said, yeah, that's true, but not many coaches do that. Like in supervision, we really want to look at all of the different systems. We want to look at ourselves as instruments. We want to look in the here and now, what's happening, and to bring this to discussion, because there is a possibility that whatever is happening in the here and now in supervision is a repetition of what's happening in the other systems. So we pay attention to that. So these are some of the differences. I don't know, Rami, there is here any questions or comments, because there are many different things here, but we need to wrap up. We are also, you asked me for the last 5 minutes to make some announcements.
Yeah, no, the announcements can, Magda will come in at that point in time. But one of the points that I really wanted to make, Damian, is that my own experience with supervision is that it's so powerful a reflective exercise, and what we as coaches have done in situations. And that enables us into mastery. And my own personal belief is that a person who's gone through a formal supervision program and who's exposed to supervision can be far better at being a master coach. The labels are one thing, but truly be master coaches in that sense. I just would like to have your views. I know that you've on that path, and I see that from people like Fiona, Eva, and others who are so amazing that in their ability to go deeper into those reflections.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why I love supervision, because you have that opportunity to really keep exploring and seeing how we are showing up, working with our clients, in which ways we can be more effective. And I think that most of us who are coaches, we love learning. And that's the reason why we coach, because we also learn with our clients. And coaching supervision is a space where we can look at ourselves, where we have the time and the space to see what is working, what we may be doing differently. And I want to invite everybody here today. We have more than 140 people at one point. If you have never had supervision, to look for opportunities to find supervisor. Like in India, there are many people now that is being trained as supervisors. Here, people who have a lot of experience. As coaches may consider not only receiving supervision, but also become supervisors. We have a coaching supervision training. Would it be okay for me right here to put my email? So like,
yes, Damian, please do that. And in fact, we would carry for any one of you. I mean, Damian is conducting several programs today, both for international audiences, Asia Pacific, US Pacific, and so on. So he's one of the best persons I know who is working in this space, and his programs are qualified for ESIA, the EMCC qualification for supervision. So we have material already on Damian on our website, please. And Damian can put his, Magda would also carry this material when she puts up this program, the recording and everything on the website. Thanks, Damian. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rama. And I want to congratulate you for an amazing program. You really brought leaders from all over the world to be part of this program. So I want to congratulate you and Magda for an amazing job that you have done during Coaching Week. And this topic is on the edge, is what is new, what's different, what's coming up. So for people who are interested in being at the edge of the profession, the people who want to really be at the front of the development, I highly recommend that you consider getting supervision to keep growing and learning and developing. And if you are a very experienced coach, you may also consider becoming a supervisor yourself. So you can have my email if you want more information.
Yeah. And just to let you and audience know, the last session is going to be Peter Hawkins, the father of the 7-height model. He is one of the greatest legends in the field of coaching, supervision, whatever you want to call it. And he's going to talk about leadership team coaching. Please stay on. It is something that you wouldn't want to miss. And Cindy is going to partner him in the session. Thank you. Magda?
Thank you very much, Ram. Thanks, Damian. That was super useful. As Ram mentioned, I will post links to you and to some material we have on our blog from you, so that everyone who found this session valuable will be able to continue and hopefully be supervised by you potentially. So everyone, please look out for that information in email tomorrow and on our blog, coacharya.com/blog. I hope that you all check back in about 15 minutes for the last session that Ram mentioned that we have with Peter Hawkins. For now, we're going to say goodbye. Everyone, thank you for your participation and for your lovely questions. I will pass them on to Damian in case he wants to address them in the future on our blog. We would definitely welcome that. Thank you, Damian.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.